men. And yet again, I use the term ever so loosely. After considerable deliberation, the owner has decided that he wants me to rebuild the 76 engine and install it in the 75 frame. These cases, although not perfect, are in far better condition than the other cases. So I tore the engine down, ripped it out of the frame, and tossed it up here on the bench for further dissection. Okay, those pistons I pulled out a little while ago, those look like high-quality forged pistons. There's no brand name on them, but they look like good pistons. So the question is, why did they fail? Dirt, no air cleaner installed maybe, wrong clearance. You really can't measure them anymore because so much metal's been moved, off by the scuffing. But this hole right here is the oil transfer hole that transfers oil to the end of the crankshaft and then up here into the rocker arms. This gasket was gobbed up with silicone, and this hole was not completely obstructed but greatly obstructed. And now look at this. All of this silicone over here. This is not a good thing. Let's take it apart and see how much silicone has migrated into oil passageways.
I was going to ask you to use your air hose to clean this little filter out from the Roomba, but I'll just tap it on the tree outside.
Why? You could use the air hose. No, you could use the air hose. It's right here. Time out to help the wife. Silicone coming out of the screw holes. And this is the high temp red shit. They make this shit here. If you're going to seal up an engine, don't use the red shit. Use the ultra black. This stuff resists oil much better than the red stuff does and makes a better seal. I mean, if you have to use it, use the good shit. They got more silicone around threads. More silicone. And more silicone. All right, hang on. Okay, look at this. The entire sealing surface covered with silicone. I don't see any smoking guns in there yet. Oh, both sides of the gasket. Yeah, it's like the worst thing you could do. Worst thing you could do. See more silicone everywhere. Every time I reach for snap ring pliers, they've got the wrong size fucking needles in them. Okay, despite all the silicone, this is the return pump back to the tank, and The passageway is clear. There's no evidence that it's been clogged. Almost lost the key, not quite. Oh, yay. Okay, once again, silicone everywhere. This is the passageway that leads up to this hole that leads to the crankshaft eventually. Jesus. Okay, here's the passageway that provides pressurized oil to the crankshaft and the rocker boxes. It's partially obstructed. This over here is the return. The oil that collects in the crankcase goes through these holes right here to get pumped back to the engine. And these are at least partially obstructed with silicone. So the oil supply on this motor was somewhat compromised, I would suspect. Okay, we'll knock the pump the rest of the way out and see what else is in there. Jesus. More silicone everywhere. So let's pause and look at this. First hole over here is the oil supply, the main oil supply to the pinion shaft, the connecting rods, and the rocker boxes, almost completely blocked. And this hole is the return to the tank. So you got oil that can't get in and oil that can't get out. And here is where oil drains from that chamber underneath the cam chest oil strainer into the scavenge side of the oil pump for return back to the tank. Also just about completely blocked. Keep in mind that when this was first installed and the silicone got dry and hardened up, it was the most restrictive. It's deteriorated over time and it's kind of falling apart right now. But when this was first installed and it was dry and it was hard, it was most restricting the supply to the engine just when the engine needed oil most. The passageway in the crankcase was blocked probably half or 2/3 of the way over here by the cam cover gasket. So I'm inclined to think that oil supply might have been an issue on this motor. If you're building a motor, don't be this fucking guy. This is going to cause you problems. Okay, here's another thing to kind of notice on a teardown. See this right here, this gouge, and this right here? This bike had an O-ring chain on it. O-ring chains are wider than a standard chain, and the chain is sawing its way through the fucking crankcase. I don't use O-ring chains, ever. Okay, here's the inside of the sprocket cover, and this has all been filed out or ground out, presumably to clear the chain. Anyway, O-ring chains, too wide for a Sportster. Here's the cam chest oil strainer, and there's flakes of metal around there. Could be aluminum, pieces of piston, could be steel. Let's put a magnet on it and see what happens. Okay, here you go. Magnetic material picked up off of the cam chest screen. I'm thinking it's connecting rod bearings, maybe. I don't know, we'll see later on. But anyway, it was making metal. And these are, big enough flakes to be concerned about. as the piston rings wear into the cylinders, they generate a kind of a powdery black iron residue, and that I'm usually not too concerned about. But when you start seeing flakes, that's something coming apart. Okay, and one other little problem. Drain plug stripped out. They jammed an oversized one in there, cracked probably half of the boss off, and attempted to seal it with silicone. No amount of silicone is going to do you any good on this. And silicone and JB weld, I think are pretty much worthless, but I will say this. If you had a bike that was, running or driving and everything was good otherwise, and you busted this out over here, if you took the primary cover off, cleaned all the oil out, douched it down real good down to, bare clean metal as you could get, you might be able to jam a bolt in there like this, seal it up on the inside and the outside with JB weld, and it might hold. Just be prepared never ever to take this out again until you're willing to get it welded. That might work. But silicone didn't have a chance. Silicone, actually this red shit is not oil proof, which is one of the reasons the black shit is better, because it is. And anyway, silicone overhauls never hold up. Cases have been power washed, sandblasted, and power washed again. Once you get all the crud off of them, you could start seeing things like this. Crack over here goes all the way through the inside. There's a little divot there, so this thing looks like it took a shot with something. It took an impact. I don't know with what, but something. Okay, this is the inside of that same area. It's a little more obvious on the inside, but we'll V this all out on both sides, weld it on both sides, it'll be fine. The other concern with this is what about the cam cover? Well, the cam cover in this area looks fine, so whether it took the shot that cracked it while the cam cover was off, or whether it's a different cam cover, I don't know. But I saw this and I thought, well, fuck, what about the cam cover? Cam cover looks good, though. Okay, the drain plug on the primary side, we're going to machine a chunk of round stock, bevel the inside, the outside, bevel the case inside and outside, weld it all the way around, weld it on the inside and the outside. We'll put it on the mill to get the, drill the hole straight and mill the surface flat and tap it all in the mill so that everything stays in alignment, and that'll be fine. Okay, and here we have the primary chain adjuster upper boss. And I see a lot of these things with this little crack in them. Well, actually, I've seen some where the little crack was not addressed, and eventually one or both sides of this thing break completely off. I had one not real long ago that broke completely off. I had to build the whole thing back up with weld, and this is like a half an inch probably. Build it all back up, machine it all flat to match the bottom adjuster boss, and just to make it neat, I went around the edges with a ball end mill to give it a little radius and kind of square it up and make it look nice. But same thing on this, we're going to gouge this out, get in there and weld it and mill it flat. It'll be fine too. Today I am out of here. I'll bring you back when I got some more to show you. Assuming the welding goes okay and the crank pin and the shafts all measure out, hell, I might be able to start putting it back together again in a day or two. In the meantime, you know where to find them. Links down below. Get yourself some. Thanks for watching. Most of all, please subscribe. I really appreciate it when you guys subscribe. We'll see you next time. Bye.